All right, let's work with lathe some more. So if you want to make a closed object with lathe, right, it's going to rotate around the core, right? So the core to be closed needs to be vertical. Does that make sense? So to demonstrate, I'm going to go to my line tool here, and I'm working in the front viewport, right? So I'm going to if this inner part here is not straight, right, and then I do something like that, close the spline, and then put a lathe on it. Okay, you can see that there's a hole or some funkiness in the middle there. All right, so let's try this. And again, I'm working on the right side. If you can, there's my, the home grid, right? I'm working on the right side. And again, it's not something I think particularly matters. It's just I want to make sure everybody's getting the same result I am. So if you work on the same viewport and the same side of the viewport when you're lathing, it should more likely be consistent. So I'm going to click here to start, right? I'm not going to hold down Shift to constrain it to vertical, right? Shift constrains. And I want this thing to have a flat base, so I'm going to Shift click again. Now I can go here and just do some blobby shapes. So I'm clicking and dragging to make those curves. And I put my cursor right on top of the first point I drew, click there, and it says, do you want to close the spline? And absolutely yes. All right, and now we just go put a lathe on there and hit min. All right. Now the segments, I was messing around here before, so it's I'm gonna hit F4. Sorry, I was the interpolation will be 6. All right, so yours should look like this when you do it. And weld core is probably not up. All right, so the default amount of number of segments going around is 16, and almost always, unless it's a tiny screw on a machine that's far away or something, you almost always want more than that. Let's try 30. Okay, let's try 60. That ain't bad. All right, so so that's the number going around. Well, what about the segments following along the profile of the object? All right, that's not part of the lathe. That's part of the original line. So we got to drop down to our line here, right? And that's the interpolation, okay? And you can see that it's 6 steps, 6 flat steps between every vertex. And if I want to see this, if I want to see the end result while I adjust it, I just click on that thing, show end result, right? And now if I increase the number of vertices of steps, okay, maybe something like that. It kind of depends on how many points you have along the way. That looks pretty good. Maybe a few more. How many segments did I do there? Okay, there's 80. All right. And if I turn off F4, you can see there's a little bit of schmata there on that thing, and that's because weld core is not on. Okay, so there's a nice blobby shape. All right, so I'm just going to delete that. Let's make something else. Let's make a vase, okay? And we're going to start accumulating objects that are going to be in the scene that you'll hand in. So you might want to, as you follow along, keep the things we make. We'll make a vase and a lamp and maybe another kind of lamp. All right, all right, so I'm going to start out in my front viewport, and I'm just going to go like this. I don't know. That's sort of a vase, right? I'm in vertex mode here, and I'm just adjusting the look of it a little bit. Okay, So there's that. And now, so let's lathe this vase and see how it looks. So I go to my, there, I'm typing LA, takes me to lathe, hit min. Okay, so looks like a vase, right? Except, looks okay like that, but there's only one side, right? Because we lathed it, it's like paper thin, right? If I were to render it, oops, odd that I can actually see both sides on that. Must be something different in this version of 3ds Max. Maybe it defaults to a two-sided material, or yeah, I'm in Arnold renderer, so it doesn't matter. But the main issue is that it's paper thin, right? And in the scanline renderer, only one side is going to render, unless you put in a two-sided material. But at any rate, a vase still isn't paper thin, right? So yeah, there's no, it's made out of clay. There's some thickness to it. So we have to fix that. All right, I'm going to take the lathe altogether off there. So the little trash can down there is how I deleted the thing. All right. And remember, any editing that you make needs to be in the viewport that you drew it in. Anytime you're editing a line, edit it in the same viewport. Okay. Because that way you want to make sure the line is like a piece of paper, right? And if you edit it in some other viewport, you can accidentally move it off the paper or behind the paper. And we don't want to do that. Okay, so what's a good way to make this thing thick? The best way is to go to spline mode, right? And if we go down into spline mode, now remember this stuff can all be out of order. You can drag these things up and down. So your order of stuff might be a little bit different than mine. But let's look in, let's see. Oh, outline, okay? So outline is going to take the two lines and double them into thick, into two lines. So I'm going to outline, right? And I can click right on here and do it, or I can click on this number, okay? If I go up, the second line is going to go one way. If I go down, it's going to go the other way. If I do center, they'll both move. So let's just try moving up and down. See there, here it goes thicker this way in, here it goes thicker out. You want to make sure that it's easy to make self-intersecting geometry, like what's happening right down there. The curve has gotten too much for that vertex to handle, and now it's a mess. All right, I'm doing all this while holding down on the mouse. Okay, this is pretty good. All right, I'm going to undo that. Now you can't go in on the spinner and just click on it multiple times, because it will make multiple outlines, which again is not what we want. I'm going to Control Z that a couple times. All right, you got to drag on the spinner up and down, or just type in a number, 10. All right. And center is like this. Okay. It goes in both directions. So it's very easy for students. It's a common student mistake when you're doing this, to create bad geometry. Because mine, if there's very tight curves and stuff like that, it can self-intersect easily. So you got to kind of watch it when you're doing it. Looks okay. I want the clay to be pretty thin, so I'm going to just leave it like that. Turn off outline. All right, so that's pretty good. I'm going to go and put a lathe back on there. Not bad. All right, it's remember the parameters that I had last time, so that's why it looks good. All right, one thing I don't like here is this super flat piece right here. Okay, I would like that to be more rounded. So I'm going to drop down to the line. Okay, I think I'm going to have show end result off for a minute, making sure to also edit it in the front viewport. Okay, I'm making it blowing up the active viewport by just doing Alt W, right, which is the same thing as hitting the very lowest button in the whole screen. All right, so let's figure out a way to round this thing out. I'm going to go into vertex mode, and I think I'm going to add, there's a couple ways I could do this. I could fillet the vertices, or I can add a vertex in the middle and pull it out. Let's try selecting these two vertices and go to fillet. And so I turned on fillet. And again, I can move the spinner up, or I can click right on it here. And don't let them hit each other like that. Just keep it there. That's going to look good. Nice, we made a vase. Let's keep it. Okay, if yours looks like a mess, delete it and try again. All right, most likely the problem is controlling the pen tool. Okay, whoops, F for front. And another thing is, don't do what I just did, which is rotating on your orthographic viewport like this. Okay, then, or on your flat viewport. Then it just says orthographic. That just means there's no perspective. So just hit F to turn it back to front. Okay, we got a vase. Let's make something else. I'm going to push this thing off to one side. Let's make a lamp with a lampshade. All right. So I'm going to make, well, you know, it's like a kind of old school looking lamp where it has a ceramic base, right, with a light bulb sits on top, and it's got a shade and the little thing that you turn it and the cord going away. All right. So I'll do this kind of quick here, so the video doesn't take forever. But so here's this thing, right? And it's kind of like a, not going to quit my day job and start designing lamps, that's for sure. Oops. Maybe adjust a few things and see if I can make this look a little bit better. Yeah, something like that. All right, so there's the base. And I'm going to make this a little closer in, because this is going to be twice as fat here, right? People, when they're doing stuff like this, they always try to draw the whole thing and then lathe it, and it's a self-intersecting mess. Remember, when you're creating lathed objects, you're only drawing a half, right? Because when it goes around, that takes care of the other half. It has radial symmetry. All right, type in LA and min. Ooh, it's kind of fat. So I'm going to turn on show end results, go into vertex. Maybe I'll select a few. Whatever. Okay, so there's the base of the thing. Okay. I'll put a light bulb on there. Light bulb is kind of hard to draw. You might want to look at pictures of what a light bulb actually looks like. Whoops. Control Z won't do it. Try that again. This may take a little editing to get a good looking light bulb. All right, and then I'm going to put the lathe on there. Let's say that's good enough. And also, I would like to have kind of centered on there. I'm going to put this thing, have a little bit of a piece right here. Now, this doesn't need to be a lathed object because it's a cylinder, right? So I can just go into my top viewport and go back to three-dimensional objects, get a cylinder, and draw it right there. Something like that big. a little taller. Give it a bunch of sides. We don't need height segments, right? Because there's no reason for it. A little more radius. Okay, so there's it's coming along. All right, let's make the lampshade. Actually, first, let's do the little traditional. You could do a cylinder thing that clicks in and out one way or the other, but let's do the kind that you turn, because that's the lathe on a different axis. So that'll be a fun challenge. Let's go to our line and type, do something like this. Okay, it's going to be that kind of shape. And then I'm going to go to lathe. This way, every time I'm going into lathe, you can also just, if I'm doing a lot of lathing like I am now, sometimes I'll just right click and copy. And then every time I want to lathe again, I just paste it on, right click and paste. It's a little faster than sorting through every time. Anyway, okay, so that ain't working because it's on the wrong axis. Let's try X. Looks good. Let's see if min works. Nope. How about max? Okay. The min and the max failed us here, as I said it would, on this axis. So I'm just going to go on this angle. I'm just going to go here. All right. Now here, you got to like think about what you're doing and watch this feet, watch what's going on. All right. So here it's totally self-intersecting, right? And this thing right across the middle is a hole in the core, right? And now, or sorry, that's where it's self-intersecting. Here it's right on, and now it's a hole, okay? Because it's the two halves are too far away from each other. So you want to get it just like that. Okay, let's see how it looks in the other. Do this thing. Okay, so there's that little doohickey. Let's make it better. I'm going to go here and in vertex mode, let's try jazz it up a little bit. So I'm going to go to refine. And this is kind of random how I'm going to do it, but let's see. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. This is too many of these things, but anyway. So now, turning off refine. Refine adds vertices. Let me just space them a little bit better. All right, so I'm going to take the middle one of each one of these. And move it down a little bit. Okay, let's turn on show end result. Move it down a hair. All right. And I got these nice little pieces here. Let's also, let's get a hold of this corner piece. Remember, when there's a corner, you always want to fillet it where possible. See how it picks up a nice, I could fillet all these too, but these are pretty small details. One more thing I want to do, go back to refine, and I'm going to, it's kind of hard to see with the fillet on there, but I'm going to add a couple of pieces, a couple of vertices here, and move them like that. Okay, to kind of dent in the face of it a little bit. Oh yeah, looks good. All right. On the top of this thing right here, also, I probably could go in. That's kind of a hard edge that I could probably tweak a little bit. Remember, you're going to edit this in the same viewport you drew it in. I'm going to go fillet. That's getting a little wonky. Maybe it helps. Not very much, but doesn't always work out perfectly. I could make it work perfectly, but I'm just going to keep moving forward. I like that whole thing though. All right, let's do the shade. This will be a hard part. I'll try to figure out a good way to do it. So a shade is thin, so we're going to have like a skinny rectangle going around the middle, but leaving a big open place. We could try drawing a line and then doing the outline thing, or we can make a skinny rectangle. Let's try the line. So out here is what I'm talking about, just like that. I'm going to go to modify, go into spline mode. I don't think I actually even have to click on the spline. I just have to be in spline mode, outline, and you know, that's way too thick, right? It should be very thin. All right, I don't think this is going to work, but let's try it anyway. So let's go to LA's min. Maybe it is going to work. And then I just have to go to my axis and drag that way over. Oh yeah, till it's like lined up with the. We can align things, but I'm just doing it just eyeballing everything at the moment. Hey, pretty good, right? Let's not, you know, of course, there's some kind of complicated wire doohickey in there to hold the shade up, but we can just ignore that. And let's put these two objects on a table, right? And then let's make a cord that hangs off the table, right? So let's see. I will draw the table in the top viewport. So I'm going to box. If you want to make it really nice, you could go to extended primitives and do a chamfer box. So here's my big table. I'm going down. And then the third drag on the chamfer box puts a little chamfer on the edges. You don't want the table to be really blobby, I don't think. I mean, maybe you do, but you want to keep that chamfer pretty small. You can always fix it afterwards if you want. Like I just flubbed it, I think. So, sorry, the fillet, make it a little bit bigger there. All right, and then I'm going to move that tabletop down so my objects are sitting on it. Check in the side viewport to make sure they're sitting on there. Yeah, looks pretty good. All right, let's make a line. This will be hard. You might want to save while you're going along here because you want to keep this, right? Because we might add something to it later. Make sure you keep this file, right? I'm going to draw a line, but this line is going to have to change in two different directions, right? So I'm going to draw it in the top viewport first. No, I think I'll draw it in this viewport. Yeah. All right. So so this is left. Maybe let me try right. So the lamp's in the front. Okay. So maybe let's just get it in there correctly, and we can put some wiggles in it later. So I go to line. We'll just make a renderable line, and I'll go something like this. Over and down. Go to rendering, turn on enable and render, enable and viewport. That's pretty good thickness right off the bat. So there it is, right? There's the cord. It looks a little too perfect. So I'm going to go here to vertex and geometry and refine. Maybe put a couple of points in there and move this one. Make sure you're on the gizmo, right? I'm going to move it this way. Is that a corner point? No, it looks rounded. And move this one this way. So it's a little bit, you know, no, those are, so let me select them both, right click and Bezier. All right, there we go. Nice little bit of a curve. Maybe I'll take these two and move them down. Let's look at it in the correct viewport. So I selected these two out here, but not the end one. And I'm bringing it down so it'll lay on the table, kind of. And maybe take this one here and give a little bit of a fillet on there. That's semi-convincing. Okay, so make those look real nice, and throw some legs on the table, render it out, and hand it in. Okay, should be a little bit of a challenge, and try to like actually can't see the light bulb. Yeah, try to get it at a good angle where I can see that it looks nice. Yeah, whatever looks good, something like this, probably be fine. Probably be fine. Okay.